Welcome to the Recruitment Think Tank podcast, powered by Next Generation, a leading specialist recruitment agency based in Dublin. Keep up to date with the latest news in the recruitment industry by listening back to talks from our free events. Visit recruitmentthinktank.com to learn more about our community.
So my name's Dave. Some people know me as Google Dave. I come from the centre of the university you know as Liverpool. Any Liverpool fans? There must be. Four more wins. Come on! 4 more wins. God almighty. I'm retiring for a week when that happens. We're an employer brand agency. We're based in Liverpool. We're based in London. And we're based in San Diego. And they're people that we work with. I sometimes look at that list and go, how the fuck did this happen? I'll be honest with you. How did we start a little old agency in Rodney Street 13 years ago? And we actually were an inbound marketing agency originally. And it's just great. I mean, I'll look at that and think, how have we done it? So, and we do employer brand, talent attraction, primarily in-house. We do some work with agencies, but the tactics are the same kind of thing, I suppose. The strategies and tactics are similar. And, you know, you're not allowed to ask questions, but if you want to, just fucking ask. But you're not allowed to ask questions until the end, really, because they're recording it. I need to stop swearing because it will just be bleep, bleep, bleep. Forgot about that. I didn't swear on Johnny's live thing before, so I won't swear. But honestly, if you think of any questions, ask me them. Right? I like to be asked questions. I like to think on my feet. And if I can't think of an answer, I'll just tell you. But hopefully I'll think of something. Something might come about. So the first thing is the war for talent is over. It's been around forever. People talking about it. It's over. Talent has won. Okay. So does anybody hire like tech? Tech, yeah. So the world wants tech talent. Good tech talent has 4 choices at once. You know, so if you're trying to hire tech talent, one of the things we're working with quite a few clients at the moment is make the process faster. Be the first to get to the offer. Be fast. So the war for talent is over. You're not fighting that. You're fighting for their time and attention. Okay. And time and attention is an interesting thing because there are so many things that distract us, and average dies faster than ever before. You think about the content that happens and puts in front of you when you jump on your phone or when you look online. There's all kinds of content, from families to parties to weddings to getting pissed to sporting events to crazy people trying to shit on the kid's head. There's loads of stuff going on. And so you jump on your phone and it's the biggest disruptor. Okay. And actually, your mobile is the front door to your culture and who you are as an organisation. It's the front door to talent. If you want to know anything, the first thing you do pretty much now is jump on your phone. And you look through the window of the phone and you look to try and understand what it feels and what it looks and what it hears and what it sounds like. And actually, the phone is in some ways the biggest distractor. Some of you are probably looking at your phones now going, what's this scouse ball guy going on about? And it's very easy when you go to concerts, you see everyone's taking photos of the experience rather than living and feeling the experience. And so the phone is the biggest distractor, but to get attention sometimes we need to distract them, which is kind of goes against what I'm trying to say. But the main thing is, to get attention you need to pay attention to who your audience is. Because if you don't pay attention to your audience is, you're dead. Okay, and that fight and war for time and attention you are going to lose because there's just too much distraction going on. So the more tech we build, the more digital we become, the more human we must be. And I honestly believe this. Okay, you are in the world of relationships. There's too many silver bullets in the world of recruitment. There are some CRMs that we work with our clients, and they go on that they are the holy grail to candidate experience. They can't even spell candidate experience. Okay, there's too much technology. I was talking on a live LinkedIn thing before with Johnny, and we were getting questions about TikTok's the new thing. Who knows? You know, if the audience isn't there, no one gives a shit, right? If you understand your audience and where they exist, that's where you go to play. TikTok could become something of real value for Gen Zs and below, and maybe for some specific type of recruitment. But it's not where a lot of audience is now. But if you want to, you could go and own a community for the future in TikTok. And also people are using TikTok as a platform to create video and then share it onto other platforms because it's actually functionally very good. But we need to understand humans, and people feel first, think second. It's how we're hardwired. So we need to understand how we emotionally connect with people. So imagine your audience, and you got your persona, I'll be talking about them later, or your target talent, or whatever you want to call it. And actually, we need to go beyond the candidate experience. Employer branding, or branding and marketing, is based on a multiple moments that create experiences. So you have your candidate experience, your onboarding experience, your employee experience, which is the new buzzword at the moment. People are changing their HR titles to head of employee experience. And then you have your offboarding, your ex-employee experience, which is a really interesting thing in the world of tech, because tech talent moves around on average about 1.9 years. Okay, so you need to stay connected to them. You need to stay connected to them because they're the community that you could bring back, and this boomerang thing. But actually, all of those things are your employer brand experience. That's what it is. Employer branding is not about words and logos and pictures. It's about feelings and experiences and the moments between the moments that people feel and then think and create multiple moments and opinions that is your brand. Okay, so you need to think beyond the candidate experience. And across all of that, which I'll be talking about later, are opportunities. And basically, it's how we leverage them. And that's something we've been doing with our clients. We do these what we call activation sessions. And we figure out who they are as an organisation, which is like their employer branding, which I'll talk a little bit about. But then, has this got a laser? Oh, yes, I've got a laser. And then you can see the candidate experience, the onboarding experience, the employee experience, and the ex-employee experience. You can see the phases that people go through. Okay, and what we need to do in terms of attracting people is look for the opportunities of where we deploy our marketing activity to connect with people and leverage those opportunities, which I'll be talking about and show you some examples of. And you can't do them all. You just can't do them all. Then the next thing is what are the channels that you want to distribute your messages into? So talk about TikTok. TikTok might be good, I was saying this before, if you want temporary staff from universities at Christmas. It might be a good channel. I don't know for sure, but it might be. Maybe, I mean, my daughter, Ellie, she's a pain in the arse, she's 12. Delete that. And she loves TikTok. She absolutely loves it. You know, so you could see, like, if you want to connect with that audience for the future, you could see why that could work. But basically, you talk about understand who you are in your employer brand, understand who they are, the audience, think about the tactics and opportunities across the entire talent journey, and then what are the channels for distribution. Okay, so you've got own, paid, advocates and events, and inside of there are lots of different tactics that you can distribute your message or your content towards your audience. Okay, you know, so as an example, you've got your own, so your website, your careers website, your social channels. Something that's really interesting, we've done a lot with BT. Everybody hates BT in the UK. The consumer hates BT, right? So we've been working with them for about 3 years. And one of the things that we've done is their employer brand and their people stories about who they are and actually what they do, and the innovation that BT do, which nobody knows about, which is actually incredible. And they are the backbone and the comms infrastructure of the UK. Nobody's telling those stories. So we spoke to their head of brand and comms, and we said we'd like to tell some people stories for the consumer channels, because A, we think it could give us the amplification of the message to help with our attraction efforts, but also we think it could actually change some people's opinion about the human element of BT and actually surprise some people. So we created one explainer video that was 30 seconds long about some of this stuff that some of the innovative stuff that BT's do. I don't like the word innovation because it's about the third or fourth most used word on the internet, so it's not innovative by default. So we created this video. They put it through the social channels, but the consumer channels, because the consumer channels have they have an audience already. Because there's no point creating great content if nobody sees it. So we're like, okay, if this was a space shuttle, let's put the rocket boosters on, and we'll use the consumer channels as our rocket boosters. In 24 hours, they had 4,007 visits to their careers website at a conversion rate of 22% into applications. So whoever it is you're working with or for, there's an opportunity that you might not have explored. And one of the things is you need to think about these things really, really carefully. L&D is interesting. So, I mean, I don't know how many people are in-house here and how many people are agencies or how many people just come here to get pissed or whatever, I don't know. But one of the things that's really interesting with grads is that when we speak to employers, they're saying that graduates come out with theory but not enough soft skills and practical skills. And what's quite interesting is, with L&D, you train and develop people with those things through the content that you have internally. So we've been saying to our clients, take that content and give it to universities in year 2, not year 3, year 2 of uni, and help students develop their soft skills before they get to you, but actually build the brand mind shelf, build the brand on the mind shelf before year 3, because in year 3, all they worry about more than anything is their dissertation, if you speak to them. So there's loads of opportunities. IBM have actually made their learning and development database, their internal learning and development database, searchable for their recruitment team, for their internal mobility. So you can source internally through the L&D metrics or data. I've never heard of that before. It's really clever. But you think about internal mobility in organisations, we're crap at it. We're rubbish at it. It's a massive opportunity. If you've got people who are developing, why not help them progress in their careers and make it searchable to the recruitment team? So there's lots of interesting things. And that's just a couple of them. You know, that's just a couple of them. So the channels that you have, that's distribution. And you want to go for the low-hanging fruit. And sometimes that's inside, or of course referrals. Referrals is the lowest of the lowest hanging fruit that nobody really leverages well. And they reward the end rather than the journey. And you can't do anything. I know you're trying to guess which one I am. But you can't do everything. Good strategy is choosing not what not to do, just about as what to do. I've just rattled off a lot of things in 4 slides that you go, holy shit, there's so much here. But you can't pick it all off. We'll typically work in 3-year chunks with clients now. So we're planning 3 years in advance. Because you can't do it all, you just can't. You have to think about the business objectives over the next 3 to 5 years. What's the strategy, what we're trying to achieve? And then from a people, HR, resourcing, talent strategy, what are the objectives that are taking us over here? And you need to align the activities to them. Don't do anything else, because you're just going to end up in a mess. But what's interesting with the David and Goliath story is nobody believed David could be killed. No one believed anyone could beat him. Not David, Goliath. I've only had one Peroni. Drank it though. Nobody believed Goliath could be killed. But David was like, no problem whatsoever. And they're like, you're nuts, you go near him, he's going to kill you. He's like, I don't need to go near him. Because he'd spotted the weakness. He lashed a stone at his head and killed him, basically. And good strategy is about choosing what not to do. But it's also about looking in the right areas. You know, and that's about building a strategy without jumping straight in and pausing and thinking about what you're doing. Have you seen Twins? It's good, isn't it? It's good. I can't believe how many people in our office haven't seen Twins. Can't believe. Oh, Top Gun. Has everyone seen Top Gun? Yeah. I mean, come on. Have you seen Top Gun? You seen Top Gun? Yeah, good. Anyway, you can stay. Okay, yeah. So the first thing is about understanding. So, like, if I go step into these sort of, if I step into what our team do, I mean, there's about 65, 70 of us now. To really get underneath the skin, I thought I'd just give you some of the things that we do, basically, some of the things that you could go away and do. So there's 2 core elements to this. The first thing is you've got to figure out who you are or who your client is. So if you're in the recruitment agency world, how well do you know the employer brand and the EVP of your clients? What are the stories that you tell that differentiate client A from client B? You know, if you're from an in-house team, do you know the 5 things that differentiate you as a brand to work for? And do you then know how to take those 5 things and sell it into a particular audience? So these are the things that you need to figure out. So we do loads of, and that is basically your employer brand, your EVP, and your give and get, if you like. But then you also need to figure out who they are, and that's just as important. fact, in some ways, you know, I've kind of been saying this for ages, is that it's probably more important. There's no point figuring out who you are and then just throwing it out there, because it's a waste of time and resource and it's not going to work as well as it can. But figuring out who they are is just, if not more important. And then what we're doing is we're connecting those things to the right people at the right place in the right time for the right distribution channels. And we want to make friends before we need them. So one of our clients, RBS, NatWest, 28,000 hires a year, global campaigns. They've got a team of 28 now, and they have built their own digital agency in their TA team. They've got their own web developer, their own paid media person. They've got 8 personas that they target year round. They have a campaign manager for each persona target. They've got a CRM and they have a copywriter. And basically, they think like marketeers. Basically, I hate that phrase, but that's what they've set up. We've helped them do that over the last 4 years. And they have friends. The first place they go to after internal mobility is straight into the database, the CRM. And it's about making friends before you need them. What's this? Now, this is because his font's shit on his laptop, but basically that says, truth builds trust. Okay, and I was talking about this before. We need to tell the truth. Now, I know the recruitment people in here and the agencies go, we just tell whatever it is, basically. But you've got to tell the truth. Candidates are a lot more savvy than they used to be. They spend up to 6 hours researching the brand before they click apply. They look at about 13.5 sources of information. So they're looking at a lot, right? And you don't know who they are yet. The question is how do you show up and what are you saying when they go looking? Okay, because they're going on different channels, they're going on career websites, they're speaking to peers, they're going on Glassdoor, even though it's not truly, do we really know if it's authenticated in Glassdoor? That's another question. They're going on LinkedIn, they're going on your social channels, and they're building up a picture of who you are. But one of the things that's really interesting is like, if we're not telling the truth when they get in, they're going to leave. And that gives you a bigger problem. And that's the key difference between consumer branding and employer branding. In consumer branding, we'll spin it up to sell it because we just want to sell product. But employer branding, it's much more personal than that. And think about the decisions people are making when they're changing their jobs. It's life-changing. It's really, really important. And one of the things that we've been finding, this is one of my favourite slides, this. One of the things that we've been looking at, and this is what has led to this new book coming out called Give and Get in March, is a lot of clients are saying, there's one client in particular, I won't say it is, they get 2.9 million applications a year for the careers website. That's a lot. And they're like, how do we filter this out before we actually have to deal with it? And this is about, well, how can you change your messaging that becomes almost like a smart filter so people can actually filter in or out? Because if you think about the consumer world, if you go to buy a car, you can go and try it out. You get the car for the weekend, you drive it around, you throw the missus in or the husband in or whoever, you put the dog in the back. If anyone goes to the Mont Hotel around the corner, you've got to meet Monty, the French Bulldog. She's now my best mate. But you get to drive it round, you get to know what it feels like, and even that new car smell. Oh, smell the car, throw the kids in, go and have an ice cream, throw the chips in. But you get to try it. You don't get to do that with a job. And it's actually kind of crazy, because you spend more time in your job doing stuff than you do in your car, than you do with your family. You think about it, it's a bit crazy. So candidates now want more information. They want to know what the worst day and the best day is, and we typically tell people the best day, but we don't tell them the harsh realities. What's it really like to work there? And what's interesting is when you go looking for this information, and I've got an example of this actually in a minute, is they're asking for it. They're asking for the reality. They're asking for what are the real challenges you face there? What's it really like working with Dave? If you look at our agency is rapid. We're going through growth pains. You've got to be entrepreneurial. It's definitely not 9 to 5. If you can't juggle multiple projects in one go and juggle 2 phones and 5 laptops, you're dead. You won't survive. But we're going to change the world of employer brand. We're going to become the Saatchi & Saatchi. We're going to raise the bar. We have fun. You'll travel around the world. You're going to learn loads of stuff. You're going to work with some of the biggest brands on the planet, and it's going to develop you faster than you ever thought before. But if you can't be a self-starter and live like that, you're dead. And we'll tell people that. I don't know if you saw the advert that Who's that muppet who advises Boris Johnson? You won't know that. Dominic Cummings. Did you see his job advert he put out? Did anyone see that? Oh, you've got to see it. Fuck me, did you not see it? It was basically a blog post that basically had phrases in that said, and actually this is extreme, harsh realities, we want weirdos and misfits. And it even said, we will figure out if we can, if you are not this type of person, within 2 weeks, we'll fire you. And it says this in his blog. Yeah, you'll be gone. We'll get rid of you. He's just telling you what it's really like. And I was like looking at it going, this is brave. This is brave. But he's basically saying, you've got to be a certain type of person to work here. Now, he's probably going about it the wrong way, and he's a bit of an idiot anyway. But he's probably going about it the wrong way. And it's probably dialed up too much. And it's almost like, I can imagine most of our brands going, we're not going to say stuff like that. But he did it. Check it out. Dominic Cummings, job description, blog. It's crazy. But people want to know what it's really like, and you need to tell them. Because if they do join, they will leave if it's not what you tell them what it's going to be. And you've got problems then with attrition, and especially with reputation and with tech talent. If they go, at some point you're going to need to fight to get them back, and you've ruined the opportunity. And that's known as the give and the get. And that's what this book is about that's coming out with Martin, business partner, and someone we work with. They've written this book together. And it's about really trying to understand, what do I have to give to thrive and work well in your organisation, and what do I get in return? And basically you can dial up and down these messages to connect with people and bring them on, and smart filter in or out. Is this the right place for me or not? So that's something that's really interesting. Now, some of the things that I want you to think about is something that I talk about a lot is data tells you what, humans tell you why. Okay, we're probably on the verge of becoming data drunk. Everyone is obsessed with data, right? Even in our business, it drives me mad. Our ops director, he goes on about data-driven decisions. And I was like, no, data-informed decisions. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, data just doesn't tell us what we're doing. So data points us in a direction of travel, but I want to know why that data's saying that. So an example of that would be chatbots. The most asked question within a chatbot is, what's the salary? It's 27% on average. But I want to know why people are asking that. Why are people asking around salary? What does it mean to them? What does it mean to them? What does it mean to their families? And why is it important to them? I just want more money. But actually, we know that's not one of the biggest motivators. So why is it salary? Probably because 80% of job descriptions don't have a salary on. Which is stupid. Absolutely stupid. Data tells you what, humans tell you why. You all know this tool. That's not my dad. This is a tool called they've actually changed the guy in the front of this. I saw it yesterday. I was so pissed off. They've put like a George Clooney lookalike on it. I was like, no way, I don't look like George Clooney. What's going on? So Answer the Public is interesting. So this is a tool that will look at data, and you can put any subject in there, and it will tell you all the questions that get asked on the internet about that subject. So that's recruitment, and you can see whys, whats, hows, blah, blah, blah. It tells you all these different questions. So imagine when a candidate goes searching before they've even clicked apply. What are the things that go on in their minds? What are they thinking about? What questions are they looking to answer? Well, this will tell you what they are. I put in working at Google. Okay. And there's two questions that are almost identical, but have massive differences. One is, what's it like to work as a PHP developer in Google? The second question is, what's it really like to work as a PHP developer in Google? And that's the harsh realities. And how you show up with content and formats that shows that story is going to make a difference. And whether they're going to apply or whether they're going to join a talent community, not a talent pool. We put people in pools, they drown. Right? A community is where people go to give, not to get. Yeah, and you need to add value into their lives first to earn the right to even begin to talk to them about jobs. Another exercise that we do, we've been doing a lot more of in the last 12 months in particular, when we're on a discovery of content basically, and what we think or what they tell us that they're interested in. So imagine you've got a team of recruiters, or you've got a team of tech talent, and you've got software engineers. You pull in 20 software engineers that you know, 50, and you go, right, we're going to play a game. Along the wall, you have triggers, what next, where, find out, engage me, convince me. And you say to them, okay, folks, what makes you think or what triggers happen that make you think about a new job? And they go, lack of progress. Tech talent always doesn't want to go up. It wants to go sideways as well. A lot of tech talent doesn't want to become leaders. They don't want to manage people, but they want to develop their skills and have a pathway that goes horizontal, not just vertical. Volkswagen promote that idea really, really well, by the way. They're not happy. They don't get recognition. They don't get rewarded, not just financially, but they just don't get any other form of reward. The management and the leadership just piss me right off, and we're not connected. We don't see eye to eye. So then we're starting to understand what those triggers can be and actually subliminally put them in some messaging. Okay? And that's not us thinking we know it. That's the humans telling us what it is. And that's the difference. The next thing you go, well, what do you do next? Well, some of them go, well, I sort my CV out, my LinkedIn profile. Okay, where do you go to learn to do that? What do you think is important about that? Some say, well, I reach out to people I already know in other companies. Okay, well, how do you do that? Well, I go to LinkedIn, or I speak to my peers, I speak to my friends, I go to meetups. So you're starting to see now what happens next, human behaviour. They research the market. Where's the best places to work in tech in Dublin? Where can I learn, I don't know, some crazy kind of code or whatever it is? And they start researching of what's of interest to them now and in the future and who's doing that stuff. Okay, and where do they go? They go into Google. That's where they start. Google is probably the biggest job board in the world, but it's actually definitely the biggest place to go finding answers, as is YouTube. Because what was interesting is they tell us where they go, and what they were saying at YouTube is they start looking for videos of people who work in organisations of where they might want to work. And it's not the CEOs, because CEOs are some of the least trusted people in terms of content, it's the employees. They look for employees in teams of where they might be going, and then what they do is really interesting is they create playlists of the videos so they can go back and watch them whenever they want. And that's led to us with career websites to put playlist functionality on career sites because the behaviour tells us that they want to come there and back. Oh, then, so what do they want to find out? What matters to them? What is the information that they want, and in what formats do they want it? What formats do they want to consume this information in? And then how do you convince me? And that's come from 2 sessions that we did, one in Gibraltar and one in Vienna. And that wasn't us making it up. The candidates, your audience, has the answers. It's not for you to come up with the answers all the time. Design thinking, you might have heard design thinking methodology. That's what this is. The audience will tell you if you ask the right questions. The magic happens when you see the gaps and you join things up and you go to YouTube, you're looking for content, you want employees, but you want to be able to save it for later. How do we bring that to one place for you? And I'll just show some examples of that later. This is quite interesting. We don't just speak to the audience now, we speak to the informants of the audience. So I'm going to tell you a story now that doesn't always go down well, but bollocks, I'll tell you anyway. So I read a book called Brain Surfing 4 years ago, and it's about a female comms strategist, and she's not learning as much as she wants in her current where she works. So she writes to some of the biggest sort of brand comms companies on the planet, not just asking for work experience, but if she can live with some of the strategists as well within the organisation. And she goes around the world for 12 months and she visits 9 agencies and she actually lives with some of the owners of these companies for 4 weeks, and she really finds out. She went to a British car company who was designing their new executive car, and he's told her a story about how they looked for informants of their target audience, and they were looking, so it was kind of middle-aged men, probably like myself, looking for this, not that in fact I'm not interested in girls, but executive cars, but they also interviewed prostitutes. And they interviewed prostitutes because they work in a car, the space in the car, and it's one of the reasons why the handbrake went to create more space and it became a button. It's a true story. Now, some people look at me and go, you shouldn't have fucking told that story. But it's a true story, and it is one of the reasons why the interior of the car changed. Because they told them things that the direct audience wouldn't tell. So this is Microsoft. We did a load of work with Microsoft and graduate recruitment. And I was like, we need to speak to the audience that influences the graduates and helps them make a decision. And I already told you about, what was the one I told you before? can't remember. The employers and learning development, so the soft skills. So employers say the grads aren't prepared to operate in the real world. They haven't got the influential skills, they haven't got the communication skills, they're not being taught it. Careers advice, the grads will say careers advice is a waste of time in university. So we said to Microsoft, why don't you and non-competitive big brands, 4 of you get together and give world-class career advice to the graduate audience across the UK? Because no one else is doing it. So there's an opportunity. And that came about because we asked grads what was career advice like. Parents want them to go to uni. So when it's the apprenticeship, when it's slightly early careers, a bit lower in sort of the age group, the parents want them to go to university. But the kids wanted to do the apprenticeship at Microsoft. And they were like, no, you're going to university, when we were speaking to them. So we created an educational pack for the kids and for the parents so they could find it when they were searching on what was good and what it's really like and the potential at Microsoft. And it was a kit to help inform and influence the kids. And the lecturers, it's all about the dissertation. They're not looking for the job as much as you think because they're panicking about the dissertation. So straight away you're finding opportunities and ideas come out of the gaps of what they're saying. So that's how you need to think about personas and research your audience. And this is just an example. So we work with Blizzard, who are Activision. Have you heard of Blizzard? Quite a cool brand, proper cool brand in San Diego. Got loads of really cool stuff. So this would be an example of persona. We would have done all of that work. This is Freya, the software engineer. This is how we identify what influences her notable behaviours, what she like, where she hangs out, what channels she hangs out on. The messaging that's unique to Blizzard that we need to say to her and how we use it in our advertising, in our marketing. And also we do this thing called the 5 things you must say. So all the recruitment team and the hiring managers know what those 5 things are and they're consistent and they differentiate you. And that's part of developing your employer brand. And even if you're in the agency side, you should have that for the different clients. Because you're in the privileged position where you actually have some really interesting information because you get the candidate feedback. And that should be fed back to the brands to help them shape the messaging and look for where the harsh realities are and where there's problems. You'll have heard of this, boys. There's a really brilliant tool called BuzzSumo. Has anyone used BuzzSumo in here? Okay. You must have used BuzzSumo, you'll have heard of it. It's probably the best digital tool for marketing that exists, I think. It's brilliant. And there's a bit of a free version, but you quickly have to pay for it. It's not loads, but for any sort of piece of research and planning campaigns, it's the go-to tool. And you can put in personas, you can put in subject matters, you can crawl websites, and basically it will tell you the types of content of interest to that audience and the subject matter and the length of engagement. So, I mean, this is just one we pulled off. What's interesting is small blogs don't work, they're not interested, there's no engagement. But for Freya, she's more interested in longer content and different formats and different channels. And actually, if you're in America, the channel to drive conversations for tech talent is Reddit. So you should be working in Reddit for tech talent. GitHub, Stack Overflow, they get battered. LinkedIn, they get battered. And they're starting to put ad blockers on their browsers because tech talent is getting battered by people like you lot, basically. And in the words of Gary Vaynerchuk, marketeers fuck everything up because we ruin everything, because as soon as we think something works, we throw everything at it. So it's quite interesting. And then it will give you the favourite types of content. So what types of content are interest to this audience? And then you can build the subject matter. BuzzSumo will do a lot of that for you. They've just introduced a new part of it which will analyse video content and tell you what's working in terms of video content. It's got something like Answer the Public where it will tell you all the questions that are getting asked. In terms of when you're building your strategy and what you want to talk about as in terms of content, it's probably pound for pound the best tool. There's millions of tools, by the way, but it's definitely one that we use. So then you want to connect with them. What time is it? What time am I meant to finish? Okay. Let's be quick, eh? And then we talks about connect. My voice is going. That's rare for me. Coronavirus. Shit, we should have had Corona. Shouldn't we? Should have had Corona. So then we want to connect with them. So, I mean, there's lots of talk about storytelling, but I thought I'd give you an exercise and a real practical example of how we uncover stories. Okay, there has been now in marketing all kinds of stuff about storytelling. The greatest storytellers in the world is Hollywood. Okay, and there's 6 formulas to telling a great story, of which the hero's journey is probably the number one. And so what we do with a lot of our clients is it's about how do we uncover those stories. And I could tell you loads, but I'm going to talk to you about SAP. So SAP, Matt Jeffries, I think he's still there, yeah, is like the global head of employer brand. He phones me up about 18 months ago. He's like, Dave, will you come and do a talk on storytelling to my team? There's 350 in their T18. They flew them all to Hoffenheim Stadium, football stadium. So I got to go to Germany and prat around for a bit, have a few beers, talk about storytelling. But before I got there, I was like, wouldn't it be cool, because we've got everyone here, that we could uncover some stories that you can use to bring your EVP alive, like the sort of employer brand proposition? And he's like, yeah, can we do it? He said, I can give you probably an hour and a half with them in tops. And I was like, oh, okay, an hour. I said, okay, let's try and uncover as many stories as we can with 350 people. And I said, this is how we'll do it. This is what you do. If you've got, well, you can do it with 10 people if you want. You take your employer brand proposition. So theirs was, bring everything you are, become everything you want to be. So that's their employer brand proposition. It's a bit of a mouthful, to be honest. We didn't come up with it. It's far too long in my mind. Bring everything you are, become everything you want to be. That's what they're saying SAP will give you. Okay? So we got 16 rooms in Hoffenheim Stadium, right? And in each room, we put 20 people. And we broke them into 4 groups of 5. So you with me? 4 groups of 5, 20 people each room, 16 rooms. And across the wall, we had bring everything you are, become everything you want to be. And there was 4 flip charts. And we said, right, in the first 20 minutes, everyone in your groups of 5, share a story that brings that alive. Tell us a story that you're aware of, whether it's yourself or people you've worked with or a myth and legend that you might have heard, and share those stories. After 20 minutes, we said, right, within your group of 5, we want you to decide which one's the best story and draw a movie poster with a headline and 3 subheadings on it. Draw the poster. So they all did that. We now had 5 movie posters, killer stories in each room after 40 minutes, give or take, that brought their EVP alive. They then in each room had to vote for the best story in the room. Now we had 16 stories. That was an hour. We then had to listen to the 16 stories, and the top 4 got up on stage and were voted for. This is the story that won. I'm going to shorten this. This lady was born in Iran. Okay? She grew up, as you can imagine, Iran is not the best place in the world probably to live. And she wanted to, her and her family really were desperate to get out. They left Iran and they headed for Germany. They got to Germany. On the way there, 2 of their family died. They ended up living on the streets in Germany. But someone in SAP gave her a chance. They gave her an internship. They helped change their lives and turn them around. She's now a leader in SAP and a team of SAP in Germany. That is a true story of bring everything you are, become everything you want to be. It's not about the words, it's about the actions. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now. When she told that story, the place erupted in cheers and tears. Genuinely, the place went mad. And that's because she is a hero. Real heroes are only people, right? And you need to uncover the emotional stories that will help you connect with the... God, there's loads of people back there as well. So you need to connect with the real stories that help you create emotions that make you memorable and make you stand out. Now, well, I can tell that story a bit longer and build it up, and but basically, a lot of you will never forget that story, and that's because dopamine's been released in your brain. You'll save it forever. But that's the key. But the workshop, the tactics to get those stories is exactly the same we do with every client. You just need to create the environment of where the stories come out. And again, the audience has the answers, not you. You need to think about how you engage your audience. And we need to move from that's because your font's knackered. We need to move, though, from storytelling to story building. So I just thought I'd give you some examples of that. In the world now of social channels, all the brands are chasing the organic wave. And what I mean by that is to get organic reach in social channels, because really you have to pay to play to get any sort of amplification. And so you need engagements and conversations in your social channels to gain reach and to get exposure and distribution. So this is a tool we use called All True. So you won't have heard of GVC. Has anyone heard of GVC? No. Okay, so GVC is a brand we do a load of work with. 5 years ago, there were 60 of them. There's now 28,000 staff. Okay, they've got 28 brands and they're buying everyone. They own Ladbrokes Coral, B-Win, Foxy Bingo, 28 brands. They're going to America and it's gone mental. But we wanted to uncover the stories because their employer brand proposition is for the good of entertainment. And we use this tool called All True, which is really simple. It's a video app. You send it out. You tell people what you ask them a question, and they fill it back. And we did a competition. This was an internal challenge. It was an internal marketing campaign to gather content, to think of them as the journalists. We're the producers and the editors. So it went out and it comes back, and now we have rich media content of people telling stories of what for the good of entertainment means to them. And then they have like 4 pillars, if you like, that support their proposition, like keep it real, get involved. And now we're creating a suite of content, of stories that bring that thing alive. We then did an internal launch just next to the Olympic Stadium for 1,000 employees. We beamed it live to 26,000 staff around the world. And it created masses of content when we launched it. And it was like re-recruiting their internal teams and their people and create energy, and we created advocacy and referrals from it. That guy won a week in Las Vegas, all expenses paid. He got pissed. But it created all kinds of content, okay, that drove advocacy and gave us stuff to amplify externally for talent attraction. This is something that we've done for onboarding, which is quite interesting. So when somebody starts, many, many years ago, when I used to manage health clubs, and we got this from retail, there's always a huddle. So at the start of shift, there's always a huddle. And if there's somebody new starting next week, you talk about that person. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if we could use the environment digitally to help people get to know people before they start? So these are big digital frames. And what we do is we put the person starting next week, we put their photo on, and we have like a top trumps digital about why are they for the good of entertainment, why do they keep it real, what's their score, what's the things that you need to know about Patrick. And in that building, on that floor before he starts next week, that's flashed up on a digital frame. But once he starts, he then shares that. It creates advocacy into his own community, and we introduce the referral campaign. So you see how we're joining things up, basically. It's kind of cool. Patrick's kind of cool. He's got blue eyes. The other thing is be in their ears. So think about these channels. When we went to Gibraltar with GVC, anyone been to Gibraltar? Funny place, Gibraltar, like. Very, very funny place. But what was dead interesting was 10,000 people walk across the border every single day on the commute, and they actually walk across the runway. And I was like, are you crazy? They actually physically walk across this runway. And I was just watching them one day, and I was like, we need to be in their ears. We need to be in their ears because they're all walking to work, listening to stuff. Who listens to podcasts in here? Podcasts. Is anyone using podcasts as a channel for their marketing? It's a really important channel. You know, tech talent love podcasts. So think about how you would leverage that channel and the commute to work there and back. Talk to them in their language, in their ears. And we talk about heroes' journeys now. So this is Vacamp, who's a Dutch retailer, the biggest Dutch retailer online in Holland, because they're Dutch. And this is an example of one of their personas. And what we do is we talk about episodic content. So how can you tell a story of that hero through different formats of what matters to her and then amplify it to reluctant heroes, to people just like Anna. So she's a digital marketeer. So the first story that we tell is because she works at Vacamp, she loves fashion, but Vacamp gave her the opportunity to go to fashion shows and something that she's really passionate about. So she captures that on video and amplifies it through her social channels and starts to talk about it. She captures it, you've got video, you've got film, and you've got sort of captured images and stuff like that, and we tell this story. The next thing is, as she's progressing, because personal development's really important to her, and it's something that's one of the key sort of elements of VCamp and how they help people develop entrepreneurially. She's now running her first meeting, she's capturing it, she's talking to her team, and she's talking about what she's learned. Week 3 or 4, she meets the boss, but she's going to interview the boss. It's not going to be a corporate sort of CEO headshot. It's going to be from her point of view, asking her real life questions about what it's really like to work at VCamp and where they're heading. What is the struggle? What are the challenges that we face? And why people like her are really important to the organisation. And they turn that content into a brochure that has an app on that you put your phone on and it plays that video. And we use it for grad recruitment. And then finally, she does a Facebook Live, which is timetabled, maybe 3 or 4 weeks away. So the audience, as they get to know her on her journey, can ask her real questions in the flesh through Facebook Live. Episodic content in different formats through different channels and letting people in, and true storytelling through story building. Has anyone done Facebook Live? You should definitely be doing it. Definitely do it. You get lots of, it's really surprising us and sort of stuff that's going on. And then there's voice. Voice search and voice activation is going to become more and more important. We're seeing it, especially, who's got an Alexa? Yeah? Anyone got Google Home? I've got Google Home, much better. I would be being Google Dave, can't have Alexa. I'm not Alexa Dave. Do you ever shout at Alexa when you're at a party? I feel sorry for Alexa, she gets abused. Really feel sorry. But what's interesting with this was, I don't know if I've done it, I've talked about this before, or whether it's a LinkedIn Live thing. Have I just talked to you about pet projects? No, good. Okay, so when we were, this is Amadeus, and now I know you're thinking, Rock Me Amadeus, the song. Remember Rock Me Amadeus, the song? Great song. Go and Google it and put it in YouTube just in case you haven't seen it. So Amadeus, power is the technology that powers all holiday bookings, hotel bookings, flights, based in Nice, big tech company. When we were talking to them, and it happened with RBS as well, when we talked to the tech talent, they started talking about pet projects that they have outside of work. And they have pet projects to push their technical skills and to learn new technologies and new codes, basically. And this one guy wouldn't stop going on to me about how he's taught his Alexa how to open his garage door. Right, and they teach them skills. It's called the skill for Alexa. And I was like, this is interesting. So he was like, so you've got a pet project and all this. And they all started talking about how they're interested in voice. And so we were like, God almighty, wouldn't it be cool if Amadeus had an Alexa briefing every morning? You could go, give us the latest tech news from the Amadeus tech briefing. And we pulled bits of information and it just spoke to them. And so voice is a channel. Remember the slide at the beginning where there's all those different channels? Well, this is because the audience is telling us what channels they're in when we speak to them. So voice is one to think about. And then you have, I've nearly finished, and then you have job descriptions. They're all crap, right? And what drives me nuts about job descriptions, if you look in the consumer world, the e-commerce website product page is the most important page, and it works so hard to convince people to buy it. And yet we copy and paste and put skills and everything that we want in a job description in bullet points in shit ATSs. That's what we do. And we just don't work hard enough. We did some work with Visa, and Visa came to us and said, we need cybersecurity staff. And this is a simple, practical exercise that you can do tomorrow. And they said, can you help us get more cybersecurity staff? And we're like, they are hard to get hold of. Like, I'm like, we've got no budget. It's like, well, that makes it easy. That makes it easy. And we were like, why don't you get more from what you've already got? And we started talking about referrals and advocacy. And I was like, why don't we just do something really simple? What are your job descriptions like? How much traffic's coming to your site? What's going on the application page? Wouldn't it be great if we could just convert more? So in the inbound world, it's known as conversion rate optimization. But we have a formula because we've studied the book previously in 2016 called Getting Goosebumps. We've studied Hollywood storytelling. There's a guy called Robert McKee. You've probably never heard of. You should check him out. He's probably about 80 now. He's got a dry cough. It's not coronavirus. Drinks loads of coffee. And his alumni have won 60 Oscars and 300 Grammys. He taught Peter Jackson how to tell stories. And he has a formula that is lead with empathy, create curiosity and surprise, offer insight, and inspire action. So we said, can we speak to your cybersecurity staff at Visa? And they're like, yeah. We said, we want to do 3 workshops, put 10 to 15 in each one. And we're going to ask them these questions. And they were the questions that we asked them that gave us the information to rewrite the job descriptions. We rewrote the job descriptions, they converted 27% better, literally overnight, by changing the job descriptions. You can do that tomorrow. That's what you need to do. It's as simple as that. And it makes a massive difference. It's one of the things we do now with all our clients is audit the job description. We've actually got I've just remembered the tool we've built. We've built a free tool actually called jobpagegrader.com. So one of our things as a brand is Defenders of Happiness for the community, and we give our best stuff away. So if you want any of the frameworks we use for workshops, we've built a free MPS tool to measure candidate happiness called Happy Dance. And this tool is called the jobpagegrader.com, and you copy and paste the URL of your job description, not the homepage, the job description, and it will score it on bias, SEO, conversion, engagement, sentiment, and a few other bits and bobs. We've plugged it into Google APIs. It's been a pet project for our tech team for the last 2 years. And it's free, and then it will tell you what to fix. So go and have a play of that. I forgot about that. Jobpagegrader.com. Jobpagegrader.com. We forget about it, to be honest. We talked to somebody, so we're doing a lot of work with Beamery at the moment. You've heard of Beamery? And we're actually building it into the CMS systems, and we're going to put it in so that as you're writing content for your website and your job descriptions, it will score it as it writes it. So before you publish it, you've scored and you can adapt. That's coming soon. Shouldn't have told you that, but it's coming soon. And then it's not about ideas, it's about making ideas happen. I've taken you on fairly whistle-stop tour of lots of different things. I could have talked about this for hours. I probably could have given you some more practical stuff. I could have given you some old stuff, some new stuff. It doesn't stop. But the first thing I'd say to you is never forget, it's not about what you say or do, it's about how you make people feel. That is what will set you apart. You need to go and figure out how to connect with the heart and then the minds of your audience. And then you'll probably benefit from the best marketing channel ever, which is word of mouth. And that's it. I think. Questions? Yeah?